I like when we can quantify, when I do an inspection for someone before, and we do another one. Because when we don't do that, I'm the one who's got real good perspective because I've seen the other houses where maybe someone else hasn't. In your case, you know where you came from. So now we talk about where you are. The number one difference where you are is the plumbing question goes away as far as the type of plumbing you have. The type of plumbing you have is CPVC. That's what's used in every new home today pretty much. It's also another material uses PEX, but with PEX, the difference with CPVC and PEX is going to be with insurance. CPVC doesn't have a name recognition issue. With insurance, PEX has one because there's a pending lawsuit against some of the manufacturers and fittings. Kind of like the pipe that you had in the last house. Okay, only this one is pending and it will be settled soon. And insurance companies don't make the distinction as to which brands necessarily. They blanket everything. So if you have PEX, guess what? You pay a little higher. CPVC, not so. What you need to know about it, though, is it's a pipe that does get brittle. So you have to be aware of that. So if you're working on it, like, give me an example. Let's say, and you probably don't want to take too much of this because I have a tendency to rattle on a lot, you know that. But CPVC, if you have a hose connection outside and you can't get that hose off because sometimes it calcifies, don't go grab a pair of channel locks and start twisting on it because CPVC will break, especially if it's loose, and then you'll end up with water shooting out of the wall. That's the only thing I know CPVC you should be cautious with, is that it does get brittle. Other than that, it's fine. All right, let's talk about your roof. All right, it's the original roof, so you're up there in age. We probably, if you had me before, we probably talked about budgeting for replacement of certain things. So your number one priority is just to save money. Right now, things are in serviceable condition for the most part. But you need to start budgeting and looking ahead at the possibility of replacing shingles, like say in the next 3 to 5 years, for example. That's a possibility, because the roof being from 2000 is going to be 15. You usually peg these things for 15 to 20 years life expectancy before you have to start to worry about it. So right now, at 15, you got to start thinking ahead and say, okay, maybe I need to budget for a roof in the next 5 years. While I looked upstairs, I do have some things you'll need to do for service reasons or to repair. A couple of missing shingles by the skylights, which you'll see pictures of. Missing end caps at the ridge vent, which is just nothing more than a big vent that goes across the top of the ridge. At the ends, they have caps, and they have caps because if you have wind, the wind drives rain in through the ridge vent if they're not capped. So if you have a day where you have a lot of wind and rain, and you look up at the ceiling and you see a water stain, it would be for that reason. So that's why you would want to do that. Other than that, the shingles look okay. There's some discoloration starting to happen above the garage, which is telling me that you're starting to get that granular loss that is associated with weathering. Okay, that just means that it's 15 years old and you're starting to see that. So I'm going to say 3 to 5 years remaining life expectancy is an estimate, and that's just roof shingles. Now on the flip side, when I went into the attic, when you first came, and you saw me when I got out of there, this all looks incredibly beautiful here. I mean, there's nothing that went on up there. The wood is good, the insulation's good, the ductwork looks good, no issues. One issue I have is where it leaked previously, repetitiously, for a long period of time. This you've seen a lot, so I know that you're familiar with it, but I don't know if you've seen this before. Typically, if you have a valley at a roof, like you do, right above the garage where the porch wall is, a lot of water, think in your mind, picture an ocean wave. A lot of water during rains comes down the roof and splashes against the porch wall where it splashed. Over time, all it takes is a little bit of water to get in. Every so often, it stays wet and the wood rots. So you have about a 6 or 8 inch area above, right after you walk out the front door. If you look up, you see they painted over the soffit there because it was stained. That location is about a 6 or 8 inch area that the wood is gone. It rotted away. You can't do much about repairing shingles at 15 years without the risk of damaging because they get a little brittle. So my advice to you is probably just to medicine it, or like roof cement, something like that, just to kind of do the surface repair until you replace it, and then you replace the wood. You can repair it if you want. It costs more, but if you're going to replace it in 3 to 5 years, I think you can manage what you have as a preference for repair. Right, so that's one repair. And the wood area, when you see it in the picture, it looks pretty nasty, but I'll tell you, it's only from a little bit of water every time you get a certain wind-driven rain. That's how it rots like that. Now, I can't explain what happened with the skylights. My guess is maybe they had some previous leaking, maybe they installed them after the fact, I don't know. All I can tell you is that they're not shingled properly around there, and there's a lot of exposed nails there. So that'll be your first roof repair. Okay, I think that if you do the cement over here, and you do the missing shingles there, and the end caps on both, that's a generic ring for everyone.
Okay.
People always ask me who that ring belongs to, and it certainly doesn't belong to any one person. People say, "That's your wife."
That's funny.
Good guard though, right? So that's the story on the roof. 2 missing end caps, shingles at the skylights, and roof cement at the garage valley. And then budgeting for replacement in 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be right. I mean, I'm never 100% right and accurate on any of these estimates. It's just to give you a time frame for which to work with. If it lasts 10 years, that would be great. But going by the numbers, that's what we're looking at. Any questions on the roof? No? Okay, good. Construction-wise, the building seems fine. It's built in 2000, and it complies with pretty much what the standards were in 2000. The concrete block looks good. It's reinforced. There's no structural cracks. The only thing I didn't like on the outside that I saw that you should pay attention to and work with is along the bottom of the gable wall, there's several areas where you got some wood rot. You got to touch.
We found that.
You got that?
Yeah, we talked about that when we were out there.
Yeah,
I read, oh, okay. Yeah.
What happens is when they build these houses, if you look at it, you see that house right back here, all these gables, if you look at all these gable walls, they have one thing in common. This one, that one, that one, that one. They didn't put a soffit. So you just have that gable that is the end of the wall. So that's, usually when you have that, you have some sort of water or moisture exposure that's extended. So I think that's probably what happens there. And then naturally the water goes to the bottom and ends up rotting wherever it stays the longest. Those repairs don't seem to be that significant. And when I got in here, the reason you saw me sweating so much is because I got all the way back there. I wanted to see what was on the other side of that. You already see the rot up there. I wanted to see what the wall here looked like, and it looks fine.
Good, okay.
Yeah, and that's important, because a lot of times you go back there, and guess what? It's rotted all the way through. So there's no concern on the gable wall, just on the siding, right? This door is something that you want to pay attention to when you get in here. You see how they install the lights here? You see how these holes are? You see those little holes they fill?
Yeah.
What that is, those are the screws for the lights. They come apart. If you want to take this out, you could actually take this whole piece out. They come apart. When you install them, these go on the inside for obvious reasons, so someone can't break into your house by taking this off. This is installed backwards. All right, so you want to probably turn that around and do a better job on the weather stripping. Because I think what will happen is with enough rain, this is just going to get water in here. Right, so a little bit of TLC on the door. I mean, the doors look fairly new. I guess they replaced them.
What's backwards?
This light here.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah.
You see,
Yours are on the outside.
yours on the outside.
Terrible thief. I didn't even know you could do that.
Say it again.
It'd be a terrible thief. I didn't even know you could look at that.
You're trying to break it when you could just unscrew it and pop in.
Yeah.
You make them so they come apart. Probably came fast.
So, with the weather stripping, are you saying get better weather stripping than you think will
You
work?
probably, here, come inside here, it'll be better.
Because I mean, we can see
Well, you see
the
what
light, yeah,
they have, you see how that's not in there right?
yeah.
Okay, see that? I think that's the reason why. They did it probably because they wanted to get more space, less space here, and it pulls away from here. So if you're going to make this type of repair, I think what you've got to start looking at is the
There's a
hinge.
piece of wood in there.
Shimmed up, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to play with it to get it right. And sometimes you can do it in your first shot, and sometimes it takes a little longer. But what you can do, the simplest thing you can do is you take this off, get that wood out of there, see where you are when you take the wood out, see how that looks. Because I know there's a reason they shimmed it. It was probably because of this space. So you're going to have to balance that out, and maybe in balancing it, you can do a better job than they did. Okay, worst case scenario, that you can get weather stripping that you can stick in there. But you would want to take care of it, because when it rains, I think you're gonna have to end up with wood rot in here. And I guarantee you, they have come factory with those lights like that. Because they ship them out pre-hung usually, so it's probably not the guys that installed it, probably the guys at the shop that assembled it. So that's pretty much the extent of the exterior. Improvements you can make, we talked about at the last house, controlling the water from the roof, that's important. Gutters and things like that, because none of these houses, if you look at them, they don't put gutters on. Over time, that'll cost some stuff. Electrical. You have your main panel and the sub panel condensed into one panel. It's located at the outside wall on the left side of the house. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay. Square D is a good brand. That's the manufacturer. 150 amp is a good rating for this size house. So you got plenty of power. The wires look fine. Electrical issues that I have though, I've got the breaker for the range, which needs to be replaced. The reason why someone pulled that out before I got here is they looked to see if the range was plugged in, because there's no power to it. There's no power to it because when you go to put the breaker on, that breaker does not go on. You can't turn it on, so you probably need to replace the breaker. And I'm pretty sure, because that looks like a new range, that when you do that, the range will probably be fine. All right, the water heater, that's another story as far as the power goes. The power of the water heater is fine, but they have an issue with the TPR valve that's backing up. You guys already are aware of that. So I was only able to have the water heater on with power for a short time because I didn't want to leave it on too long, it caused a huge flood. So I only had it on for about a half hour now. I know it's heating the water, but another thing you should budget for on this is probably replacement of the water heater at some point. You can see the rust at the top, you can see the rust at the side and at the bottom. It might be a smart choice to start looking at shopping around to see what you want, because I know a lot of people are going towards tankless water heaters now. You know, you can get an electric tankless one. It's a little costly, but in the long run, it's supposed to pay off. All right, so you got different options. In a standard one, you can spend probably $300, $400, $500 on the water heater. Right. Other things that are electrically related are the type of wiring you have. Copper looks really good everywhere I look. I do have some things that in home inspection we always find very unique things, but they're very common in all houses you go to. In other words, you go up there and you're going to find electrical stuff. You have a splice above your front porch where the light is that they didn't put in a box. It's an easy fix, but you want to put it in a box. It's just some electrical wires that are spliced together. You have an outlet that's wired reversing over here at this wall, only one though, so someone just connected the wires to the wrong terminals, which is, happens from time to time. And the light in this bathroom over here does not go on. So I took one of the bulbs out and I tried to see if we had 110, and I'm not getting anything on my continuity tester, so I'm thinking maybe you have to pull that light fixture out and see why. Maybe that they didn't connect it right or something. All right, but everything else on the electrical stuff looked pretty good to me. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing special here. Electrical checked out pretty good at 15 years old. All right, let's see, what are we leaving out here? Do you guys have any questions so far?
No.
No? Good? Okay, I mean, the report will come to you and probably sometime today or tonight, so look it over, see what you think. You remember the last one, what it looked like? It was very similar. The house has a lot of good qualities, so for example, to redo kitchens and bathrooms and flooring and stuff like that. A lot of the cosmetic stuff they did nice. So that's a plus. We got the tiles where they like the way they installed them. I think they look good too. And the wood laminate flooring actually looks like they didn't do a bad job on that either. Usually when they buy, I don't know if this is a flip property or not, but usually when a lot of times people buy them and flip them, they're not good at something, and a lot of times that's flooring. And you go in there and you can see the floor was not installed by someone who knew what they were doing. Here it doesn't look bad to me.
Is that black stuff in that room, is that like cockroach?
On the bottom?
It's like a...
We found it quite a few of them. It looks like some kind of
Yeah. Those are our favorite, the American roaches. The big ones, the ones that when you run one over, their friend comes and knocks on your door. Those big ones.
Okay.
Yeah, you have insects here because they haven't done pest control in a while. You can see a lot of ants too.
Okay.
Right, so one product that takes care of those guys really well is Termador. I don't know if you've heard about
Put it in
that.
your phone so you remember.
Termiticide.
We've got it on video.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
Termidor is the stuff that the termite companies use, the one they flood the perimeter of the house with.
Uh-huh.
And it's a non-repellent insecticide, and it kills anything that's a social insect. You know, the insects that walk around in the bars with martinis and all that shit. Those are the insects that it kills. But ants, roaches, all those types of bugs, that was pretty funny, right? That's the biggest laugh I ever got on that one.
And you're all week.
From here all week. Don't stay, because it doesn't get any better than that. But that's what you pretty much would want to do, because the social insects like the roaches, like the ants, like termites, Termidor will get rid of them all, and it will last. The residual on it is something like 5 or 7 years or more.
Whoa.
Yeah. When you put it on, when you don't bury it, and you put it on the surface of the building, you probably can apply it twice a year. I think that's what the label says.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Paul.
Oh, you're welcome.